YouTube, how's it going? Frogs Angels is back with our updated power rankings. This is pre-week 4 in the NFL. Doing this every week. We update it every week, and this was a tough one. This is like probably the hard. NFL's so weird so far. This is very hard to rank these teams. After I wrote up my rankings, I happened to check out some other power rankings like I usually do, and mine are a lot different than I looked at ESPN NFL and Bleacher Report after I made mine, and they're it's different. Let me tell you. I'm in some disagreements with some of these people, some of these writers. The top two are obvious. Those are going to be the same. You can flip them in any order. If you don't have the same top two in the top two, you're just something wrong, completely wrong with you. But the rest of them are pretty different. I don't know what happened to power rankings, but I think other people are like kind of predicting the future. I disagree. That's not power rankings. Power rankings is almost like a stock report. So I think people are leaving teams high because they know what they'll do, and I know what they'll do. I know those teams will turn around and get better. But right now, what they just did, what they're doing right now, that's where I put them. So, if you agree with some of these other people, then you're not going to agree with me. This is the way I do it. So we'll try to explain it here. And again, it's not. People think power rankings, they look at one team and look that they beat another team. That means they should be ahead of that team that they beat. That's not how it works either. You're not versing one team in power rankings. You're going against every other team. So some instances that may happen. Some it may not. Maybe they're ahead of the teams they beat. But we'll go over these. I'll go team by team here. The bottom 8, last place is the Cardinals. They have some talent here and there. I keep mentioning that. Coaching is absolutely terrible right now. Absolutely terrible. Throwing Rosen in that situation for a game-winning drive. I think if Bradford was in, I'm not going to say they would have won, but there was one specific play. I covered it in the recap video. One specific play. It was the offsides that was a interception for Eddie Jackson. They got called back. I think Bradford would have found Fitzgerald. Fitzgerald had the option of curling or going deep. I think Fitzgerald would have went deep. He would have been wide open. Would Bradford have found him? You can't say for sure, but he would have saw the free play. I'll tell you that. So terrible coaching. The insisting on running to Edmonds in crucial situations when you have one of the best running backs in football. It's mind blowing. It's absolutely mind blowing. I'm gonna start getting mad, so I'm gonna move on. 31. Raiders. They can't figure it out. Defense is poor. Trade away their best player, so it's pretty obvious. The good thing is they got picks. They can rebuild this thing. They had some. I don't agree with a lot of their picks. They had picks where I thought were one of the worst picks in the draft, and then some were one of the biggest steals of the draft. So some of those guys could work out. They can get better. Pass rush is non-existing, so they're down at 31. The Texans are at 30. There's a situation going on there. I thought they would win their first home game. The lack of offensive line, the lack of depth in the secondary from injuries and the tackling in the secondary, pretty terrible. Watson doesn't have enough time. He's athletic enough to buy himself some time sometimes. It's not his fault. He doesn't look the same as last year, but again, it's not 100% his fault. So they come in at 30. The Jets, 29. Good win in week one. Week one, it's prime example. Means nothing. They got to figure it out. Darnold making rookie mistakes. They're pretty bad ones, though. It could be a rough year for him, but he's got a bright future if he keeps getting the chances. 28's the Niners. I did drop the Niners pretty good, but here's an example. I see people put the Niners down close to that very bottom range, and they only put them down there because they know what's ahead for them. I mean, I know Garoppolo is going to be out, but like right now they did play one of the top teams in the Chiefs, so I don't know if you can drop them all the way down. I'm predicting in the future they'll be towards the bottom because they have too many injuries, too many significant injuries. It's very unfortunate. The Niners were looking like possibly a wild card team, maybe. So I can't drop them completely down yet, but I'm predicting they'll be down there like most people. But people making power rankings predicting future is just unacceptable to me. Cowboys at 27. They can't get anything going on offense. Defense was going, but it didn't look the same, mainly because they're constantly on the field probably. They did not look good, and against what I thought was a poor Seahawks team. I still think they're not too good, but they do have Russell Wilson and guys like Earl Thomas. 26 Giants. I don't think I had them moving. They won their game because it was just a great matchup for them. They couldn't get any pass rush. They had 1 sack. They play the worst offense line in football. They get 3 more sacks. I think that's the difference. They're able to get the ball more in offense and take advantage of the lack of tackling ability in the Texans secondary. Maybe you can blame it on the new officiating, new rules. But Giants don't move. Good job getting a win, but they won because of the matchup. They're going to struggle still. Bills at 25, big time win against them, against the Vikings. That was impressive. That was shocking. I think there's a couple things that really helped their offense get going, like starting in the 30-yard line. So you kind of want to see more of that. Are they able to take advantage like that every single week? I don't know if that's an every week thing, but they did move up a significant amount. I don't like their coaching, but Leslie Frazier, heck of a job there. He's against his former coach team, the Vikings. That defense was well coached in that game. They found something. And if you go back, and I didn't notice it live, you got to go back. They were lining their defensive tackles up at the defensive end position, and when they were getting sacks, when they were rushing the passer, they weren't doing it every single time. And they were taking their D ends, and they were outside the defense tackles, so they were a little wider than their normal spots. And then they had outside linebackers standing up on the line, even outside those D ends. It was very strange. No one was even near this guard or anywhere near the center. And the Vikings offensive line didn't know what to do. They didn't know what to do. This Bills pass rush isn't elite, not even close to elite. Great game planning. I'm surprised it's shocking that I'm saying that, but that's what happened there. If people watch that film, other teams, they may figure out that's how you beat the Vikings offensive line. The offensive line is pretty weak, but maybe you have to do some unique things to get it done at an elite level. Very impressive. Next 8. Some shockers that have come off the board here, but this is how I take power rankings. Seahawks, 24, good win. Still need to see more. That offensive line's rough. Really, the weapons are rough. Outside of Russell Wilson defense, they got some studs, but other than that, do need some help. Colts at 23, they didn't really drop much at all. They've actually been pretty impressive, even though they're 1-2. They could have beat the Eagles team. They're pretty impressive for what they got. The young talent on defense, very good. Darius Leonard is having a heck of a season, battling for that Rookie of the Year, just lighting up the stat line. 22, the Lions, they soar up because the big win against the Patriots. It's just one win, but well-coached game for the Lions. And it looks, to me, you can't get ahead of yourself here, but it looks like they're a pretty good team. It looks like it just took them a little bit. We're going to start seeing more of the real Lions, and I think they're not a bad team. And it looked like in week 1 and 2, new coaching staff, they were able to game plan. They were able to figure out their identity, and it was pretty impressive. I mean, you should be able to run the ball on the Lions. Their run D isn't that good. They have a solid pass rush, better than expected. Darius Slay is a beast as always. Offense got it going. They use Kerryon Johnson more. I don't know if the Lions are going to make the playoffs, but that was impressive. I think we're going to start seeing the Lions get better and better. The Patriots aren't doing so good, so maybe that was part of it too. But very impressive. 21's the Browns. They don't have 2 losses. They're 1-1-1, so I moved them up. And then having Baker Mayfield in there, I moved him up because he's in. He's going to start. I don't really necessarily consider it predicting the future. I just think having him in and bring him in that game and showing what he can do was enough for me to move up 21. And again, they're 1-1-1 because of the tie. And they should be 3-0. They should be 3-0, and that shows the talent that they have. The Broncos are at 20. They're 2-1, but they're not really an impressive 2-1. So I have them down at 20. Solid defense. Keenum needs to play better. 19's the Patriots. Maybe this is the surprising part. People keeping them up high because they know where they're going to be. I know where they're going to be. They're going to win their division. They're going to contend for the Super Bowl. I know that they're going to be there. But they're a mess right now. They don't look good. I'm not panicking for them. They'll figure it out. But right now, in a power rankings video for week 4, this is where they belong. I don't care what anybody says. This is where they belong. I picked them to win the Super Bowl. I'm not going to bash myself for that because they could win the Super Bowl. But for right now, they're at 19 in power rankings. That's how I view power rankings. 18 is the Falcons. They're a good 1-2 team, but they're 1-2. They have a ton of injuries, and that showed. So they're down at 18. 17 is the Packers. They're another 1-1-1 team. Good comeback against the Bears. I guess keeps them up a little bit. But it's kind of showing that they really have Aaron Rodgers, a couple of offensive linemen, maybe Devontae Adams. I'm not saying the rest of the guys are terrible, in no way terrible, but the lack of like a complete roster is kind of showing, and that's why I'm at 17. But we know they'll end up being higher in this. So on to the next 8. I got the Steelers at 16. They got a win, so they move up a little bit. you know, I think Tampa kind of beat themselves. There was some good plays by the Steelers, some good play. Tampa kind of beat themselves in this one. So, and that's their first win. So I couldn't move them up too much. They are missing Le'Veon Bell. When they get him back, I'm sure we'll have them moving up more. The Vikings are at 15. Big drop for them. They're a very talented team. We expect it just like the Patriots, just like the Packers. Same thing I said with the Steelers, maybe the Falcons too. We know they'll be higher in this because of the talent they have. But for right now, a team capable of what they did against Buffalo, had to move them down. Can they win a Super Bowl if they're capable of that? I'm kind of starting to doubt their Super Bowl chances, but you still expect them towards the top with the talent they have and possibly winning that division. A little bit of a messy situation going on Everson Griffin too, it seems like. So I don't know, but I kind of kept those 1-1-1 teams, Packers, Steelers, Vikings. They're all in a row. Really, what separated them was I just the total, complete, like the talent level on their roster. I think the Vikings out of the three have the most talent. Maybe when Steelers get Le'Veon Bell back, they're the better one. The Packers need more. They drafted real well. It'll be good for the future, and they'll be better than 17 going forward. We'll see. 14 is the Chargers. Yes, a 1-2 team is up here. It's because maybe we'll come back to the Chargers. I want to come back to them and say why they're higher than some of these teams that don't have 2 losses. I want to come back. You'll see why I want to do that. 13 is the Redskins. Impressive win over the Packers. Solid team, but it's also an inconsistent team. That team against the Colts is nowhere near 13. You scoring 9 points. So I don't know, but they're 2-1. It was an impressive win, so I had to move them up here for now. Ravens, very similar. I was flipping the Ravens, Redskins back and forth. Similar situation, good win over the Broncos. What was that against the Bengals on Thursday night? In their defense, it is hard to go on a short week, go Thursday night, and then play away on it too. So, I guess that's the reason they're ahead of the Redskins for now. 11's the Bengals, tough loss against the Panthers. They were away. Andy Dalton did throw 4 picks. Other than the 4 picks, he was looking pretty good. But it was still somewhat close with those 4 picks, so we can see what they're capable of. They have a talented roster at the same time. Number 10 is the Bears. The Bears are 2-1. They're actually at the top of the NFC North. They lead football in sacks. Somebody pointed out in the comments, I was kind of thinking of this too. They actually lead the league in sacks by a decent amount, and they don't have a single roughing the passer call, so they're doing something right over there. Unless it just matters which officials you get. We're going to have to start looking at the matchup and which officials you get, maybe. That's just ridiculous. The Bears have been pretty impressive. Couldn't move them higher, though, because their offense can't really do anything right now. Trubisky, I think, had a pretty poor game. He still won. That's the impressive thing. But he had a pretty poor game against Cardinals. Could have thrown a couple more picks. But I kind of want to see them play a better team. But it is hard to win any week in football. So they come in at 10. Number 9 is the Titans, and here was one I disagree with when going and looking at the other power rankings. The people just have the Titans way down there. They just beat the Jaguars. They're 2-1. The first game, you can't really count all that much. They did lose, but you played in a game where all your best players got hurt. You were delayed several times, and you played the 3-0 now Dolphins. People are hating on the Titans. People are sleeping on the Titans. I almost wanted to move them higher in this, but the injury situation still is a concern, I guess, going forward. Who will start? It's got to be Mariota, but it's up in the air a little bit. But people have the Titans way lower, and I strongly disagree. I mean, winning with the injuries, too, is pretty impressive, and beating a top-tier team like the Jags. Here's your next 8. Yeah, what happened there? The Redskins and the Ravens swapped. There was a graphic mess up there. The Ravens I have at 12, and the Redskins are really at 13. Sorry about that. The difference was because the Ravens one loss. I thought it's a hard game to win, no matter who you play. So I apologize for the mix-up there. Number 8's the Eagles. The Eagles haven't been too impressive. They're going to start getting more impressive because Wentz is back, but they're not higher than 8 for me because they haven't been really that impressive. They're 2-1, 8 versus 9 this week. Eagles versus Titans. That'll be a good one. The Saints are at 7. Very impressive offense. The defense is not impressive. They're trying out guys like Josh Robinson, who is really, he got cut from the Buccaneers when they have defense issues. So they know they have a situation, really not just in their secondary, but their defense in general. But that offense is elite, and that can help them contend. Number 6 is the Buccaneers. I didn't have them dropping too much because they kind of beat themselves. If they don't make those just simple mistakes that they easily can get back in a new game, then they win that game. It's kind of impressive. Like, they played so bad and they hurt themselves in the first half that they could have won that game still. So I couldn't drop them too much. And at number 5, they got 3 NFC South teams in a row. Number 5 is the Panthers. Panthers are pretty impressed with me. Cam Newton's so smooth. He's very good. And he didn't really have to do a whole bunch to win this game. He did get a lot of touchdowns, but he doesn't have to go off in the yard category. I don't know if their defense is as good as it has been, but I think it's an offensive league now, and they really can get going. They've been pretty impressive to me. Out of the NFC South teams, I think they have probably the least amount of flaws. I think the Falcons are definitely the most talented NFC South team. Unfortunate injuries. The Buccaneers and the Saints, I think, have a legit defense issue, but their offenses are very good. So the Panthers at 5 for now. Very tight race there. Number 4 is the Jags. They didn't move down too much, and here's why. They can't beat the Titans. They have a matchup situation with the Titans, but luckily they're very, very good against mostly every other team. So this is not a head-to-head rankings. You could put the Titans out of the Jags because the reasons I explained about the Titans, you could put them higher. But the Jags are still a very good team. The really only way this matters if they meet the Titans in the playoffs. And if they do, they may be in trouble. I mean, all the games are close, so they're very close to winning them. But for some reason, they don't match up well against the Titans, but they're still a very good team. Number 3 is the Dolphins. Yes, I put the Dolphins at 3. There's only 3 undefeated teams left. And the reason for this, I really was thinking about it first, and I didn't know where to put them. And all of a sudden, it came to my head. It is so hard to win any week, no matter who you play. They're 3-0 at the end of the day, no matter who they played. You want to see them play better teams. But they're 3-0 at the end of the day. It's hard to win any week, and this last week proved it for plenty of teams. Dolphins are at 3 for me. Chiefs are at 2. Rams are at 1. Really, the difference between the Rams and the Chiefs, the Rams have the better defense, really is what it is. The Chiefs' offense, I think, is a little better. Really, if you flip those, I wouldn't argue with you. I wouldn't argue with you at all. And going back to the Chargers, why the Chargers 14? They're 1-2, and they're ahead against teams that don't have 2 losses. Well, it's because their 2 losses are to number 1 and number 2. So I guess that game a little bonus points. I guess you can argue that if you want, but I think the Chargers are a pretty good team. Really, the 14 through 19, I think you can flip. Those guys are they're really close. I think 1 and 2, very tight. I think 4 through 9, really, really tight. And like I mentioned, 14 through 19. Yeah, that's just how I feel. That's how I feel power rankings should be done. So let me know your guys' thoughts. We're going to update this every single week. We got weekly pick'ems, weekly score predictions during the week. All that every single week. If you haven't seen what's been uploaded this week so far for this week, go check it out. I keep saying the word week a lot. But we got weekly football coverage here at Frogs Angels. So check it out if you haven't yet. Please subscribe if you haven't yet. Our subscriber goal is 10K subscribers. Like button, clicking that would be much, much appreciated. But that's going to do it for this one. Please check out our other videos if you haven't already. And yeah, that's going to do it. Thanks for watching, everyone. Stay tuned for more. Goodbye.